In the late 1800s, a small country between France and Italy was pretty strapped for cash, so they came up with a neat idea: make gambling legal. In no time at all, this idea had worked, and worked rather well, and soon the playboys and dilettantes needed something to spend their cash on. By the 1920s, the thing to spend your money on was a fast car. Some things never change, and it wasn't long before someone had the bright idea of racing them against each other. Thus the Grand Prix was born, but there was one rule: the race had to be in the country's borders. That's fine when you're France or Germany, or even England. Not so much when you have an area of 2.1 square kilometres. Not to be perturbed, the citizens of this little country came up with the biggest race on the planet, the Monaco Grand Prix. But what about the other 364 days of the year? Well, that's what I went to find out. We start, as ever, at the start-finish line, which, when precision-engineered single-seaters are belting down at over 200 km an hour, looks pretty hairy, but when they're not, looks more like a zebra crossing. The pit lane isn't permanent, and is taken down or put up in a matter of days. Pulling 4.8G, the drivers brake from flat out down into second gear for the near 90-degree right-hander that is Sainte Devote, which, as you can see, plays host to a roundabout for the rest of the year. Then it's straight back on the power, reaching speeds of over 260 km per hour up the Beau Rivage hill. Changing down, the drivers swing through the left turn of Massenet past the Monaco Opera House. It's a crucial corner to get right, as it affects the entry onto the next turn through Casino Square. It's an iconic part of the course. So iconic, in fact, it was full of tourists, and the best shot I could get was everyone's feet. Out of the exit at Casino Square, there's a lot to think about. The drivers have got to get back on the power, down the hill, whilst also ensuring to avoid the notorious bump in the road with a bit of right hand down, all in fourth gear, clocking over 200 km per hour. Off the power and on the brakes for just over 2 seconds, pulling 4G as drivers turn into the right-hander of Mirabeau High. It's here in 2014 that Nico Rosberg had his controversial off in Q3 of qualifying, sealing himself pole and the win. It's slow then down towards the Grand Hotel hairpin, where space comes at a premium and the racing line is everything. At least during the race. The rest of the time, the hairpin is dwarfed by the Fairmont, and the biggest problem you'll have is taxis dropping off guests. Out of the hairpin, the course descends towards the harbour through the lower Mirabeau and onto Poitiers. It's here in 1988, Ayrton Senna, with a 55-second lead on Alain Prost, made an uncharacteristic mistake and ended up in the barrier. Out of Poitiers and through the sweeping right-hander that takes drivers into the iconic tunnel. Regardless of what era you prefer, there is no denying the sound of a Formula 1 engine at full chat through its hallowed walls is like nothing else. Most notably for me, however, was the savage change in light from artificial to natural upon exit. Fairly blinding, and it was pretty noticeable on foot, let alone at over 200 km an hour. Upon exiting the tunnel, the drivers are immediately faced with the new chicane, following a savage 4.7G deceleration out of the tunnel ready for it, down to 55 km an hour. 2 high-speed changes in direction follow as drivers sweep left, hugging the harbour and keeping above 100 for the most part. If you can't take the heat, the swimming pool is on the other side for a quick dip. Not that anyone seemed to fancy it when I was there. Keeping close to the harbour, drivers thunder down towards the iconic last corner, La Rascasse, where in 2006, Michael Schumacher had an infamous off in qualifying that cost him pole with a back-of-the-grid start penalty. And if you were too busy trying to get around the final right-hander and you forgot where you were, the local VW garage on the corner is a lot different to my local dealer. And there it is, back on the power and across the line. A fast lap here can send you into racing immortality. A mistake can be pretty costly, in every sense.